Alright guys, this is Ice. This is going to be a Terran versus Zerg, and for those of you who have never seen my channel before, and that would probably be most of the people that watch this video, I haven't casted a lot of games before, just doing it kind of like as a hobby. So anyhow, this is going to be as the red Zerg at the bottom, EGMachine. EG is Evil Geniuses, and Evil Geniuses is the clan EGMachine. Idra is one of my favorite Zerg players. The players talking, I think this may have been in a tournament, I'm not sure. But anyhow, as the blue Terran, we have mouzThorZaIN. I'm not familiar with that player. I don't think I've ever seen that name before. But anyhow, this should be a pretty good game. I haven't seen it before. I never look at the games before I cast them, just because that's kind of boring in my opinion. But the standard Overlord coming out at the usual time. Moving across the map, gonna realize that they have not spawned in the close positions. Meanwhile, the Terran moving an SCV down, and we can, you notice, let me see, the bunker right down below the bases. I think, well, and this is the MLG Pro Circuit version, I think, of this map. I can't remember the name right now, but they put the bunkers down there at all the bases, I think, to stop like bunker contains by Terran. I mean, sorry, I've been saying bunkers. These little supply depots to stop bunker contains, I think, was the reason. I'm not 100% sure. And the two barracks coming down here kind of suggest that the Terran may be going for a relatively early expansion, just because he's walling off over here. And this is a pretty big ramp. And easy expansion. The Zerg has already taken his own. Doesn't have a spawning pool up yet. Should be getting that up. Yeah, there we go. And if you can hear any noise in the background, that is some construction outside, so sorry about that. As I was saying, probably going to be going for an early expansion here. Not too early, just because his minerals are not piling up. The command center is morphing. I'm going to pull up the production tab here. Two barracks. Terran can push with two barracks, and sometimes I've seen what they do is they put up a bunker next to, and especially against Zerg, against the expansion, and that's usually pretty difficult to deal with. Some drones just coming down here, going to be transferred, start mining as soon as this hatchery is finished. One Marine and an SCV come in. He may actually get, there is the bunker actually, although he's not going to have sight of the high ground, so he's probably going to use some unit to move up here, and then probably push forward until he can get a closer bunker which is in range of the hatchery. However, two spine crawlers are going up, so I think the Zerg player knows exactly what the Terran is trying to do, and if this bunker contain does fail, the Terran should probably go for another expansion right away and try and take down that spine crawler. But just Zerglings just popping out at the right moment. Bunker gonna finish those. Zerglings probably gonna back off, and you can see just a ton of the, well, about two Zerglings went down almost immediately from that bunker contain. Not exactly a contain, but the spine crawlers here, and yeah, this spine crawler going to be in range of that bunker, so he's probably going to have to salvage that if he wants to regain minerals. And Marine's just following those Zerglings around. SCV looks like he's going to be going for the expansion, as I suspected. Yeah, indeed, that is what he should have done, just because the bunker contain was not immediately successful, and I'm not sure why he's repairing that. He should just salvage it, seeing as that's not going to be of any use to him, especially because this creep is spread all over here. Not going to be able to get another bunker, I don't think. And Marine's just going to be running in and trying to gain a sight of the high ground. Bunker just surviving on fire, and Zergling's going to try and take that down. No Marines in the bunker yet. Spine crawler just positioning backwards a bit, just barely in range of that. And I think that's finally going to go down. He should really salvage that. Putting more Marines in, trying to get view of the high ground, but I think just going to be finally poked away. And there goes the salvage, and it's pretty close, but he does get the salvage off. I think in the latest update they actually changed it so that salvage does not give you back 100% of the minerals you spent. I'm not a Terran player. I haven't played Terran in like 3 months, so I have no idea. Anyhow, this command center just finishing up here, moving the barracks down to the bottom of the ramp. maybe going for a wall off. However, he was probably just moving them so he could get the attachments, reactor, etc. And of course he can just lift one up anytime he wants to move out. And the Zerg should probably go for another expansion here, unless he wants to do some kind of roach bust, because Zergling all in wouldn't work right now. The only thing he could do if he had a Baneling's nest, which he does not, is to try and break down the wall. So probably best for him to expand as soon as he sees what's going on over here, and he is sending out a Zergling scout. Of course, always have to have map control to see exactly what your opponent is doing, so he does know what is going on, that there is a wall up over here. He can pretty much guess that there is a orbital command over here, pulling down some mules and Terran player, 2 Vespene Gazers, and a supply depot coming up, 2 factories, both pumping out Hellions, and he is researching the Infernal Pre-Igniter, which is going to be very effective against Banelings just because they are massive area of effect damage attacks. And the Zerglings here attacking some backdoor rocks. Terran doesn't spot that. That could be dangerous in a while. Anyhow, the Infernal Pre-Igniter, like I said, could be very could change the game unless the Zerg player goes for roaches or something like that, because roaches pretty much destroy those. You can see 2 more extractors coming up here, so we have to assume he's going for heavy upgrades or he's going to tech up. You can see the layer about halfway done, and metabolic boost also halfway done, so that's a very late metabolic boost by the Zerg player. A Baneling's nest is actually on the way right here, as is a macro hatchery, and these of course are used just for larvae for the production of more units. So interestingly, the Zerg player not going for another expansion, and he is going to know that there are Hellions on the field. The Infernal Pre-Igniter is almost finished, as well as Stim, so this is a pretty nice timing push, because by the time he decides to finally attack, he should have those 2 upgrades finished, and the Zerg player could be in a lot of trouble. One Zergling just hanging out over here. 3 spine crawlers over here though, so that should be pretty nice. Although the Zerglings alone are definitely not gonna withstand the Infernal Pre-Igniter if he can keep the Hellions alive. Should probably put the Marines in the front. I don't see any Banelings on the way. He does see there are 3 spine crawlers. Not sure if he wants to push into that. Hellions not very good against spine crawlers. Marines with the Stim could take that out. However, roaches on the way for the Zerg player. Of course, he does know there are Hellions, so roaches I guess the logical way to go. And you can see just splitting up the forces here. I guess he's expecting Banelings. Not sure if he saw the Banelings nest with that scan. Probably. You can see splitting up his forces though, just in case Banelings are coming, and they are. And we'll see how these Terran manages to micro his units. You can see the Infernal Pre-Igniter not doing much against the roaches at all. 4 roaches just trying to draw them back into the main base so the spine crawlers can poke at them, and the Zergling is trying to get a surround on the Marines, although the Infernal Pre-Igniter can be doing a lot of damage against them. The Zerg player just managing to clean up there. The Hellions having to back off from the roaches. They are not very good against roaches. And there we go, just finishing up the last of those Marines. Meanwhile, the Hellions just hiding in the back here. A Thor is on the way. I think Thors are pretty good against roaches. Thor is, of course, the 3rd tier unit. Well, can't really say tier. It's different because I play a Zerg. But the Zerglings, anyhow, I'm looking for any upgrades. I don't see an evolution chamber. There it is, coming on the way. So the Zerg player does not really have any upgrades, although he is going for Mutalisks. And those are going to be nice against the Hellions, I guess, and probably going to try and do some damage to the mineral line. However, he does not know that the opponent has a Thor. Not sure if he's going for mass Thors or just tanks. I don't see another Thor on the way, so maybe just getting the army for upgrades and getting a complementary Thor. We'll see what happens here if the Mutalisks are able to do any economic damage. The missile turret repelling them. However, trying to kill the Vespene Gazer. I guess he knows the Terran is going for a gas-heavy build. The Thor, however, can destroy any number of Mutalisks that comes along. And the 3rd hatchery, meanwhile, just finishing for the Zerg. You can see 2 Vespene Gazers also going to come up on the way, just because the air units are very gas-intensive, as well as upgrades, which he's going to want to get very soon. Does not have any ground upgrades, getting the zerg flyer attack for his Mutalisk. Moving across the map again, meanwhile going for another expansion. So if he can keep harassing and stop the enemy from attacking pretty soon, if he can actually get up his economy at both of these bases, he should be in a pretty comfortable lead. And just hopefully he won't allow the Terran to max out. What is he waiting for over here? I'll keep an eye on those on the map. Sending in some drones over here, just getting saturation. This one not even halfway done, but looks like he's finally going to move the Mutalisk, and although there's a missile tower and a Thor, just going to destroy all of those Mutalisks. And not the best micro from the Zerg player. He obviously wasn't keeping his eye on that at all. He did not see that there was a Thor and a missile tower. No damage done to the Terran player at all. Not sure how many Mutalisks the Zerg player lost, but it was about 4 at least. And we can see 2 Vespene Gazers again. He really needs that gas just to keep up with all the upgrades in the area, as I said before. Overlord's spreading some creep down here. There is a creep tumor and a spine crawler, so he's expanding his defensive line. We do see the spine crawler spread out over here. Terran player, although with the tanks, siege mode could be extremely deadly against those spine crawlers, and the Zerg player will then be forced to move forward. We'll see if the Terran is going to go for a drop just right up here. Is sieging his tanks. That is going to hit the spine crawler, so the Zerg is probably gonna have to respond there. We'll see what happens. Scanning again just to get the extra scan range there. Sieging up more tanks, and Baneling's just morphing on the way. The Zerg player probably waiting for them. I'm not sure what he's doing with that force. He's just letting the Terran roll right into his main base. Mutalisk just trying to take some tanks out of position, getting one, but the Thor repelling that. The Marines easier to micro away from. The Thor, however, just a couple hits could take down a whole bunch of Mutalisk. And the Roach is suffering severely from the tank damage there. Needs to run the Baneling straight into the Marines here. And if he can get a surround on the Thor with the Zerglings, should really continue trying to catch these out of position with the Mutalisk though. The Zerglings finally running in and try and take out those tanks. Mutalisk coming in as well for support. The moving in from the back there, very nice play of the Banelings killing. I'm not sure how much they did there. A lot of blood over here, so we can assume that a bunch of Marines died. More Banelings on the way. The Zerg player is in a lot of trouble. Yeah, there's the GG. Like I said, if he had managed to get his economy rolling at these 2 bases, he would have been just fine. But the Terran player moved in just before that happened, and with the siege mode, I think the siege mode really won that for him, and the Thor just backing up against the Mutalisk. So good play by both players. The Zerg player, nice defend with the bunker contain, and the Terran taking it at the end. So that's going to be it for today's cast. Probably be casting another one today or tomorrow, and that's going to be it.